Hi everyone. So we are back in our asynchronous format. I'm hoping that this video is shorter than the previous ones because I just really want to bring our class kind of sort of full circle. So we've had a chance to kind of really understand what public relations is and how it's defined. And I'm going to spend some time making sure that we have that down packed. Whether you are a PR major, a PR minor, or for all of you having taken a public relations course, I want you to be able to define public relations. And oftentimes, public relations gets mixed up with marketing. Most people don't know the difference. And that makes sense. My time at Universal, I was in a massive department of roughly 100 people, and we were public relations and marketing because a lot of what we did overlapped. But there were also some very distinct characteristics of what we did, and there was clear definitions. And so I know we spent the beginning of the semester talking about that, and then I want to bring it home because I want you to leave this class. And if you say, "Yeah, I took a class in PR," and someone goes, "Oh, what is that? Is that marketing?" I want you to be able to say, "No, I know exactly how it's defined, and I know exactly the difference." And so we're going to spend the next couple of minutes defining them, giving you characteristics, and then don't forget, there is a reading in Brightspace, super short, I mean like maybe 90 seconds, and a 10 question quiz, true, false, multiple choice on this video and that reading. So without further ado, I want to jump right into it. And so, if you recall, we talked about public relations being about relationships. And if you don't know, and I'll define this in the next slide, marketing is really about customers and driving an awareness when it comes to a product, place, price, and promotion. Of course, there are times where they overlap, and we're going to talk about that, but then there are times where they are distinctly different. And so, what I need for you to know that the distinguishable difference when it comes to public relations is relationship building. So whether or not you realize it, and I've said this before, you have a relationship with every single brand, every single celebrity, every single product that's in your life. Whether you love it or hate it, whether it was something that you have nostalgia because you grew up with it or your best friend told you about it, these relationships matter to you. And as a consumer, you may not realize how rich and powerful those relationships are, but they are, and they are intentionally manifested. And so I want to leave you with that by the end of this video and spend the next couple of minutes driving home what that means so you'll always have it as we have spent the semester together. So as you can see, I highlighted here some how, where, and whys of PR and marketing. And so how PR is conducted, as you've learned across the semester, is via partnerships, via working with influencers and media outlets. The how is bridging those rich relationships. The where is in multitude of communication channels and media outlets. And the why, and you should always know this, is about relationships. Why is PR impactful? Because if something goes wrong, we are absolutely in charge of reinvigorating that relationship and repairing that relationship. If people lack awareness or don't know, we're in charge of introducing that relationship. And so, as you can see right here, PR is focused on image oriented strategic activities. So, in class, we built visuals because we live in a visual, digital saturated world and it matters. But even before social and digital media, magazines, newspapers, billboards, wall posters have always existed. Even flyers and handbills and table tents have always existed with a brand and a visual imagery. And so these are often a way in which we can create emotional experiences. And then, of course, strategic activities speaks to our press release and our media alerts and our pitching emails, which you've all had the chance to do. So the focus is relationship building via those two means. Well, one thing that's really interesting about PR that I think is important is that it's always fluid, meaning that it can be unpredictable. That means you can have a client that everything is going perfect, and then the next day there's a scandal and you have to switch gears and create talking points, put together a media scrum, put together different kind of press releases, and things happen all the time. So it makes PR really exciting, but that unpredictability can also make it very strenuous and anxiety inducing. Interestingly, when you buttress that against marketing, you realize that marketing isn't about those things at all. There's a focus on the market, the demand, and the product. And so if I worked for, let's just go with Dasani Water, And we know that everyone needs water, and paying for bottled water cost, and how much people are willing to pay for water, and how we put water in front of them, and how we make sure that this Pepsi product stands out. That's marketing. We're focused on the market, the demand, and the product. However, if we wanted to do a partnership with an athlete, and we know that people who love that athlete, who have a relationship with that athlete can be in some way, shape, or form enticed to drink Dasani water. Now we're pulling on the emotional strings. We're creating an emotional experience. So you can see where they may overlap, but understand that that strategic activity is about relationships, and where we place their product is about marketing. Can they go hand in hand? Absolutely. But we need to understand how they both exist in the same world. So here I just want to quickly highlight some similarities between public relations and marketing. And this is why oftentimes people are confused that the two can coexist, but they're not the same thing. So PR and marketing always have to align with the client and the brand strategy. That's why we talked about formative research first, and then take a marketing class. You talk about market research. Also, PR and marketing have to go hand in hand when it comes to understanding that you want to have a positive, effective message. So, no matter what you're saying, no matter what you're doing, it's about goodwill and positivity. Oftentimes, the approach in order to be positive and to stay with the brand are similar. When you're working on a product and you're trying to place it, or you're trying to write copy that's going to be put out there, you want to align with the brand. You want to align with its already through line and understanding where its strengths and opportunities lie. Whether it's marketing or relationship focus, those things remain consistent. And then last but not least, as you can see above me here, when it comes to public relations or marketing, we still continue to engage with different types of messaging. Now, creating that experience is a little bit more thoughtful within the PR world, but marketing also does the exact same thing. And so, testimonials that tug on people's heartstrings, or different types of ways that we may engage in new and digital media, absolutely are part of that. That's why in PR we talk about earned and owned media, but also paid media, which is a form of advertising or marketing. So, these are ways that both areas overlap. But of course, there are specific differences between public relations and marketing. While we have a marketing department and your brand new coming fall 2024 public relations major and our continued minor, there are differences. And so, do they complement one another? Absolutely. Could you be a double major in marketing and public relations because you want to widen your opportunities and you know they overlap and you really want to be creative and build relationships and get to know customers? Absolutely. We're not competing with one another. There's just distinct differences, and you may find that both of them work for you, or that you really want to focus on just a product and the customer, or in PR's case, the relationship between an array of stakeholders. So, some key differences are, and as you can see over here, when it comes to public relations, there's a broad audience. Take Bentley, for example. When it comes to building relationships, the customer is arguably you, the student who's paying tuition. However, when you think about public relations, it's a broader audience. I become a part of that audience, even though I don't pay for the service, but I help to uphold the mission. And so, faculty, administrators, students like you, alumni, once you leave and you're no longer paying tuition, keeping that relationship with you absolutely matters. The Waltham community, the Boston community, high school juniors and seniors, parents. Public relations thinks about a broad array of different folks, and that's why we have to understand the psychographics, demographics of those different audiences. In the wonderful world of marketing, when you're looking at product, place, price, and promotion, you're thinking about the customer. How do we turn a profit? Sometimes it's not about goodwill. Sometimes it's not about the emotional experience you had with him. It's about, did you open your wallet or not? Nothing wrong with that, but it's a very specific goal. Also, PR, and as I mentioned, isn't about necessarily always raking in dough. When you watch a commercial and they don't actually give you a sales pitch. You just see the logo and it's a commercial that tugs on your heartstrings, or that inspires you, or does that it's nostalgic. Their idea is to continue to build that relationship, to increase that goodwill, to increase that awareness, to get you to think about and talk about them. And so it isn't always about necessarily spending money, but in the long run, do you know the mission statement? Do you know their catchphrase? Do you know that logo? Because in your everyday life, there's only so much time in a day, and you're being hit by different messages that PR is like, we care about mind share. How often are you thinking about us? How often are you engaging? How often are you talking about us and telling people about us? And so it's really about that image, that perception, and how you hold on to it. PR isn't necessarily attached to sales or profit all the time. It can be, there's always overlap, but sometimes that's simply not the goal. Think about it. The projects that you're working on right now, we're not trying to make a profit at all. You're trying to build awareness, to increase opportunities to engage, to make sure that people know about these different facilities on campus and these different names. Nothing's about turning a profit, but you all can understand that increased awareness is valuable, increased engagement is valuable. That's public relations. And so they can go hand in hand, but they also can stand alone separately. And last but not least, I just want to leave you with this little visual that I thought was kind of interesting. There's also a similar narrative in your super brief reading that you're going to skim over before you take your quiz. That marketing is about promotion. So you can see in the top left corner, that is a young individual promoting who they are. And public relations, right across from that, is about someone else providing word of mouth, someone else validating that, someone else who already has a relationship, using that relationship to influence others. And then below it, you get advertising, which we haven't talked about a great deal, but it's the repetition of saying something over and over and over again until it's cemented in your head. And then last but not least is branding, which we've talked about briefly across the semester, but it's absolutely interwoven. And that's the idea of like recognition. Recognition. I can tell you Nike is great. That's marketing. Someone who you trust, who you believe in, who you look up to can tell you Nike's great. That's public relations. You can drive down the street and see a Nike billboard, Nike wild postings, and a Nike flyer. That's advertising. And when you see a swoosh and you know immediately that's Nike, that's branding. They all come together. And strong businesses understand the value in all of them. Public relations is a key part of it, and now you are fully in the know. All right, my friends, you have a quiz to take. Make sure you read that short article, and then I will see you all on Monday. We're back in for our last full week of classes.